Well, a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Juma Karim to all the Muslims out there. Now, this becomes one of the Jumas that we're praying during the month of Ramadan. I hope everybody woke up on the right side of the bed and you're ready to start off Friday because, hey, it's a Friday. And that means we have Saturday and Sunday coming on soon. And that means for you who works Monday to Friday, you have Saturday and Sunday to rest. But for you who works up to Sunday, I ask that you talk to your bosses and tell them to give you one day off, because I guarantee you one thing: your body is a machine that needs to rest. Your mind needs to rest, needs to recoup, needs to come back one more time fresh and ready to start the week. So if you are spending all the time at work, I wonder, what time do you have with your family members? What time do you have for that me moment? Because the me time, the me moment is a very important aspect in your life. It helps you, one, categorize what it is that you think is important and what it is that you think is not important. And then it also helps you deal with the stress level that was at work. You calm down, deal with the stress level, and then start afresh on Monday. So ensure, regardless of what they tell you, you have your weekends off work, or on Saturday you work half day, because it is important that you do that for your mental health. See, stress alone could be the reason that you have a mental breakdown. Only that, because you're working every Monday to Sunday. You don't have an off in the middle of the month. You don't have an off in the middle of the week. You're just working. Now, when will you get time to exercise? When will you get time to stay home and have a proper made meal by yourself? That's if you're still a bachelor. I'm seeing that marriages are happening this time in COVID-19. People have realized that life is short in COVID-19 and people are getting married faster than I thought they would. And I thought, during COVID-19 time, people would reduce the marriages that are happening because, hey, it's COVID-19. People don't have money to do anything. So why would we spend money on weddings? But again, here's the secret. During COVID-19, you don't invite the whole village to your wedding. It's just a few people that you're inviting to your wedding. During COVID-19, you're not going to spend too much money on the expenses of weddings that you used to spend before COVID-19. So I think we're all taking advantage of the fact that there's COVID-19 to get married fast. However, even without that, the fact that life is short. We've realized that a pandemic like COVID-19 could come and swipe us all off the face of the earth, and that is the kind of fear that we did not face back then. So if there's somebody that you love out there, tell them you love them a little bit more, spend some more time with them, and ensure that whatever you do, you were there for your loved ones when you need them. It doesn't have to be financial when you're telling your people that I'm here for you. No, it doesn't. Only your time, the dedication of your time is enough for you to show them that you're there for them when they need you. Now, this brings me back to the part where we were discussing the aspect of time for yourself. It's very important that you get some time for yourself, especially during this pandemic when everybody is away from everybody. Human contact is limited, and for me who has family, say in Arua, it's very hard for me to jump on a bus at any moment and go to Arua. Very hard. And that means I haven't seen my family for a very, very, very long time. And that means the contact between me and my family is limited. And that, for your information, ladies and gentlemen, makes mental health instability bigger than what you think. Now, when people say mental health stability, we are all thinking, someone must be on drugs to be mentally unstable. No, someone must be drinking a lot to be mentally unstable. No, wait a minute. This someone should have a problem genetically with their family. I think their grandmother was mad at some point in their life. No, that is not how it is. Mental instability or mental health about the history of politics in Uganda. No, sir. Let it be about a novel. Let it be about a love novel. Let it be about the story of the 3 children that went into an island, killed themselves. I'm not really saying it has to be violent. I mean, I'm still trying to look for a good book for you to read. But all I'm saying is find an entertaining book. A book that will keep you entertained and away from the stress of the day. And my coach once told me that you need to ensure that you have 30 minutes for yourself in a day, regardless of what is happening, regardless of who is happening, regardless of where it is happening. 30 minutes for yourself in a day is very important. Now, in those 30 minutes, ensure that you shut down your phone, ensure that you shut out everybody, ensure that it is your minute. You decide to do what you want with those 30 minutes. If you want to watch a movie, don't feel guilty for it. If you want to decide and just sleep, don't feel guilty for it. Do what it is that you think is good for your mental health. So the lesson to pick from today is that your me time is very, very important, and don't let even your workplace take that me time away from you. And as you're sitting there and trying to figure out what it is I'm doing with my life, as you're trying to figure out what is it that my purpose in life is, here's my advice for you. Get a piece of paper and a pen, and then write the time that you have in a day. Say Latif Hamid wakes up at 4 a.m. So from 4 a.m. to 8 p.m., what do I do with my time? Because approximately 9 to 8 is when I put my head down and go to bed. But from 4 a.m. to 8, when you're getting ready to put yourself down to bed, what are you doing with that time? Are you accounting for every minute in your day? If you're not doing that, you need to start doing that. So at 4 a.m., I am waking up. So from 4 to 5, Latifa, what are you doing? Or I think I'll be reading a book at that time. Okay, so 4 to 5, I'm reading a book. So 5 to 6, Latifa, what are you doing? 5 to 6, I'm getting ready for the show, and that is the first show. And I'll do a little bit of exercise to make my body fresh and energetic for the day. Okay, that's 1 hour accounted for. All right, 6 to 8, what are you doing? 6 to 8, I am on the first show, and I am seated here with my viewers on screen, interacting with them, having an amazing session with them, updating them on what is happening in the country and getting their feedback on what is happening from their side. Okay, that is accounted for. We're done with accounting those hours of the day. All right. So from 8 to 9 or 10, what are you doing? I'm running errands. So I'm running errands. I have some personal errands to run. I have to run them in between that time to ensure that later on I have more time for work. Okay, account for those errands. So all I'm saying is the more you account for your full day while you are at work, the more you feel satisfied at the end of the day. Have you ever had a day where you go back home and you feel like, what? I'm tired, but what is it that I have done with my day? But nimefanya nini na siku yangu? Nilikuwa nafanya nini leo siku nzima? That is important, because now you're very exhausted, you've had a full day, but are they productive? Did you use those few hours in a day to be productive? And did you give yourself some time off before you become stressed and snap at everybody that passes in front of you? Especially for mothers and parents, that is very important. You come back from work, you're really exhausted, and your child wants your attention. Are you giving them that attention as a mother, or are you too tired to give them that attention? And that is why it is important, even if you're a mother, to divide your time between work, your children, and some me time. And I believe when you do that, then you'll have some time to relax and you'll have some time for your kids. Now, we'll further have this conversation at a later time on whether whether mothers should be working. That's very important, because these are women with children at home, and we're leaving the responsibility of children to maids. But are the maids instilling the behavior you want in your kids, or are they instilling the behavior that they have in your kids? So what kind of man are you raising for the woman that is going to get married to you, son? So what kind of son are you raising for him? What kind of husband are you raising? What kind of member of parliament are you raising for the world? Those questions are very important for you and me who are going to become mothers of this nation. Now, for those who are waking up at this moment, I'm excited to have you on set with me. I'm excited to know that you're here with me. House of Amma, definitely just me. The details will come in later, but they're at South Point Mall in Kabalagala, and I'll be reading their numbers later for you who wants to look as good as I have. See, I started looking good 2 days ago. So the first one was peach, second was black, and today I'm in green. Lady in green, thank you so much. So if you want to look as good as I am, the South Point Mall, House of Armor, is there for you. Dedicate your time, dedicate your day, go there, pick yourself an outfit and look good this Ramadan. The best investment you can do is an investment in yourself, and nobody should tell you otherwise. And no other investment is better than investing in yourself. And when I say investing in yourself, I don't mean financially only. Like I said earlier, your time is important in investing it in yourself. And aside from that, you need to ensure that you read more books, invest in your brain, make it bigger. Know that I need time to go to school, study one more time, increase my knowledge. That is very important. And then what are the 100 skills that you know? Because remember, today in Uganda, the unemployment rates are crazy. But how are you dealing with the unemployment rates? How are you making yourself indispensable that if you come to work and if you leave, your bosses will cry for your absence and not say, it's okay, she can stay home for 2 months. We have someone else who can sit in for her. So how are you making yourself indispensable so that when you leave, your bosses feel the vacuum, they feel your absence, and they call you and ask, you're not yet here, hasn't your leave ended? And remember, you've just taken 3 days into the leave and they're asking you, hasn't your leave ended? Well, once you do that for yourself, ladies and gentlemen, that means you're untouchable. And that means that you will be employed anytime, anywhere. And even if your bosses woke up in the morning and said you're fired, which they will think 5 times about, you know that when I leave this workplace, I will go to somewhere else and I will be employed. So what is your employability is one of the investments that you can make in yourself. And it starts with how you look. See, how you look, how you feel mentally, how you feel health-wise is very important. And how I dress up when people look at me is very important, because addressing you starts by your look. Are you good? Do you look good? Do you speak proper? Now, those are the things that people look at before they talk about any other thing with you. Good morning. A cup of coffee for those who are not fasting, and for those who are fasting, thank you so much for having the faith to observe Ramadan. Now, let's start straightforward with a few updates that I thought made a lot of sense, but for me, unfortunately, I would be unable to talk about them in details, but I can bring it to you in an update form to tell you exactly what are those small stories which are big in a way, but we can't divulge them in details and we can't cut them in soluble parts, because you know my time has to be segmented. So let's look at what are those that have made the headlines this time around. Now, the first story that I think is quite important is the registration of dead people. Now, when I put it that way, it sounds a little bit gross. It sounds a little bit too strong, like a strong cup of coffee. But here's one thing you need to note. The government has now said it is working on a plan to ensure that the registration of your dead members of the family is going to be compulsory. And they say that is because it is becoming hard to plan for the citizenry if they don't know who has passed away and who is alive. In Uganda so far, we have a number of 330 people who have died from COVID-19, but have they all been registered? Now, there are other people who died from COVID-19 or not that the government does not know are dead. And it is important for your government to know that your person has died. Why? Because see, when you go into the office of registration, national ID, and we have Latifa Hamid who has passed away or who passed away yesterday, but unfortunately the government doesn't know about it, then they're still planning and accounting for Latifa Hamid, and her national ID is still in the system as a person who is alive, and all her details, NSSF is still running, and all her details go on as normal. And that is something that the government said needs to be worked on, and people are taking this for granted. They say that is stipulated in the Constitution. I'd like to read you the article that registration of dead people, or I'm looking for a better word, dead people sounds too strong. The registration of our loved ones who have passed away sounds a little bit softer, will have to be compulsory, because as you were born, you're also registered, and the registration is done on what is called the birth certificate. And they said, including the national ID, people are not taking the national ID seriously. And the only people who go for the national ID are those that have to go to a bank and open a bank account. Now, those are some of the people that for them go and register for a national ID, and they're asking themselves, why is it that Ugandans are not doing better? Why is it that they're not coming out to register their people? Yet it is very important for them to do so. Now, that is the information that I have for you today. I am telling you that you need to ensure that you find time to go and register the people that you have lost, for government to know that you have lost those people, because they say it is very, very, very important for you to do so. They say that Act 2015 mandates all Ugandans to register every death within Uganda at no cost whatsoever. And that is the important fact that I had not put forward, at no cost whatsoever. Now, for me, I would like to stop there with that particular update, because the information has been passed to you from me as a media personnel, and that means I have played my part in passing that information, and I hope that you have gotten that information within your hand, and hopefully next time there's someone that you've lost, or not next time, if there's someone that you've lost in the process of COVID-19, in the process of the riots, again, I pray that their soul rests in eternal peace. But this is the time when government is calling upon you to go and register them. Please do so, so we can update how many people we have in the country and how many people died in the country. Now let's move forward to another update that for me put a smile on my face. Imams have received food stuff that is coming from SOS, a company all the way from the UK, and it's an organization that is in collaboration with the Department of Social Services under Muslim Supreme Council in Uganda. Now, all the heads of mosques in the different parts of Kampala received items, including food packages that went to them to help them through this month of Ramadan. And I believe it is very, very important that this happens. Now, this is the second Ramadan that we're having in COVID-19. The first Ramadan we had was also last year, which was on the time of COVID-19. Remember, COVID-19 was registered in Uganda in March 18th, and March 20th is when we officially put to book the first person who was registered with COVID-19 in our country. Now, he was a young man who had gone for business in Dubai, and he came back and he was going to his home in Chibuli, and he was registered as the first COVID-19 patient. And of course, there was a lot that was happening in the process. People condemned him for going out at that time when we needed everybody to stay in, and they said it was wrong for him to bring COVID-19 in the country. But hey, whether it was him or not him, would still have COVID-19 in the country. Over 40,000 cases of COVID-19 in the country, but the recoveries are also skyrocketing, so that means that is a good thing. Now, these imams received this charity box which had foodstuffs, and for them, they appreciated the deal or the call that was brought in by Muslim Supreme Council and the SOS all the way from UK, and they said they actually needed it. See, COVID-19 in the country, people not having what to eat, jobs that have been put on a shutdown, to debt, and people struggling to find a living while the taxes are being shot up every other time. There is a concern over the fact that Muslims who do not eat the whole day also don't have what to eat at night. So this, for me, was one of those touching moments when you feel like humanity is still present and there's still people who care about the less fortunate. So we at STV also applaud them for this, what they have done, and we say that it was much needed, especially in Uganda, where we have the gap between the rich and poor, which is at a very big number, very big percentage, and we're still fighting to see Muslims or non-Muslims, people afford to eat a meal, at least one meal a day, at least. And in Uganda, one of these days, that has also become almost an impossibility. in our country. Now, that's the other update that I had for you today. And as we're continuing with the updates, the other one that got my attention, although I'd like to discuss it in details, I'm not going to be able to do so. The Forum for Democratic Change Vice Chairperson for Eastern Region, Salam Musumba, has dragged the Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, to court for continuously refusing to be served the election petition as of the legal procedures. Now, she is saying that she has served Rebecca Kadaga and asked her to come to court, given that she feels like she was cheated during the just concluded elections. But Rebecca Kadaga has not heeded to the call that she has given her, and that means she is dragging her to court and says that Rebecca Kadaga has to be present. Remember, in the just concluded elections, Salam Musumba, FDC, was vying against Rebecca Kadaga and Kamuli in the position of the Kamuli Woman Member of Parliament. And we were all seated, waiting to see how the competition would go. I remember we all went, part of the STV team went to Kamuli to see how the competition was going and bring back the information to you. And yes, there was a tight competition. Boda bodas were all... they had tags on them. Some of them had Kadaga and some of them had Lumumba. But then the question was, at that particular time, does Salam Musumba have the same support in Kamuli that Rebecca Kadaga has? And according to Salam Musumba, she actually has that particular support, but then she lost because she felt that she was being cheated. And according to her, her attempts to serve Kadaga have been futile, and that is the reason why she has run to court. And she has written to the principal judge expressing dismay over the behavior of judicial officers at Jinja High Court, who she accused of being biased contrary to the Judicial Code of Conduct. However, Kadaga's lawyer, led by John, Mary Mugisha and Emma Opio, asked court to dismiss Musumba's application with cause because it has been overtaken by events that are happening. I mean, look, Rebecca Kadaga is already in Parliament. Rebecca Kadaga is now vying for her seat as the Speaker of Parliament. And we're also seeing the fact that Rebecca Kadaga is going to be swearing in on May 20th together with the president. Time is running, and right now is the 16th of April 2021, which means sooner or later we'll be having the swearing in ceremony, where what happens is that the president invites the different heads of states who will be coming in to also be part of the swearing in ceremony. Well, that is one of the updates I had for you. The other one, as part of the speakership competition, the CEC is attending the occasion that is happening right now in Chankwanzi. And part of the people who are in the Central Executive Committee of NRM are Rebecca Kadaga and Jacob Olanya. But Jacob Olanya is in attendance as we're speaking at Chankwanzi, where they're having the retreat. But Rebecca Kadaga was unable to go. So she's not there, and she sent her apology to Lumumba, and she said, I am not going to make it. So does that mean that Olanya is now having a better position in the speakership race? Because he is going there, these young or newly elected members of parliament are going to be there, and that means they're going to look at Olanya. See, Olanya was there, and he was clad in an army uniform look-alike. And he had his mask on, and nobody had recognized him up to the point when Lumumba announced his presence at that particular place. If you were to remember, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni had said the last thing that will be discussed, or that item that will not be discussed at all, is the speakership race, and he stopped Rebecca Kadaga and Jacob Olanya from campaigning, saying that they need to sit down and wait for the Central Executive Committee to decide who will be present at that time. We have 243 members of parliament, the newly elected members of parliament on the NRM ticket, who are right now in Chankwanzi, and we have 27 Central Executive Committee members who are, as we are speaking, there, right there in Chankwanzi, and they will be there for a 3 weeks retreat to discuss a number of issues pertaining NRM and ideologies. Of course, later we'll be coming in to tap the issue of Yoweri Museveni and the headlines where Yoweri Kaguta Museveni takes a jab at members of parliament who were unable to do their job. So they say that His Excellency Yoweri Museveni, of course, condemned the newly elected members of parliament and called the 11th August House or even the 10th August House a theater, where all they say is, I second, I don't second, I want to speak, I want to pass a motion. And he says, but is that enough for them to be able to deliver services to the people in our country? Now, that story, of course, will come in later in details as we're looking at what is it that we have in our updates. Now,